Governor Patrick, we are so thankful and appreciative of your time. And of course, as the first African-American governor of Massachusetts, you've made such a contribution.
Thank you.
Well, let me introduce you, Governor, for this important conversation. Lives Eliminated, Dreams Illuminated, the LEDI experience. And the whole idea being, can art give us a handle on some of these terrible things that we see going on in the world? In this case, anti-Semitism, and understanding that this is not just past history. Unfortunately, it's alive and unwell. I'm David Milch. We also have with us Lisa Fishbane Jaffe, who is the executive director of the Hadassah Brandeis Institute.
Hi, Lisa.
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
And we've put this collection together, and we're putting educational materials. And the decision was taken to have this collection and the compositions to be there, to be our first exposition. We also have a dear friend of mine, Mark Smith.
Hey, how you doing, Governor? Thanks so much for what you did for Massachusetts and for the country.
Nice to see you again. Mm-hmm.
And then we do have our two artists, Lauren Bergman, who's in her studio.
Hi, Lauren.
And with us from Israel is Ella Milch Sharif.
I want to just say how grateful I am to Lauren and to Ella for the work that you are doing to remind us of the humanity of the victims and the that we see and read about, and the statistics that we see and read about, that they're actual individuals with lives and stories and beauty, and they deserve to be remembered that way.
I think in looking deeply in the eyes of these souls, of whoever has suffered profoundly, in connecting with their humanity, we connect with all of humanity.
And Lauren, you've been telling stories with your portraits and working with Ella. An event, you might say, inspired or possessed you, Lauren, in August of 2017. We're going to play some excerpts from that event and your comment on what possessed you to go on this journey, which we're all on together.
Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us! Jews will not replace us! Whose streets? Our streets! 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 White lives matter! White lives matter! White lives matter!
When I watched what was happening in Charlottesville, which is not far from where I grew up, it just wrenched me. It really translates to a loss of compassion in many ways, that we're disconnected.
In your case, you went to the internet to try to understand a little bit about this rise of anti-Semitism, and you came across a photograph that prompted you to start these portraits.
I looked further, and she had been killed in the Holocaust. And it was like a sudden realization that I wanted to tell a story about her. Sadly, we're witnessing even further dissolution in the fundamental values of decency, inclusion, tolerance.
Of course, this has to do with art and artistry, the painting, the compositions.
The images are powerful. The music helps. I think that there is a way in which, when it comes to race and religion and issues of tolerance generally, we are feeling like we are losing ground, when in fact we've made profound progress, much of it in my lifetime. And our big challenge, I think, in this country is to hold two thoughts at the same time, which is that we have made that great progress. At the same time, we have a lot to do. You know, when I think about the works of art in particular, the art and the music are ways to draw us back to community.
Art is a way to disarm people in a way that you wouldn't get from just a conversation.
Lauren gave those young women and girls lives, new lives. And I decided to give them another dimension through my music. Music gives a totally different emotional dimension.
What I'm witnessing and what is measurable is that there is a rise in hate crimes. There's an astronomical rise in anti-Semitism. And what do we as individuals, how do we stand against that? How do we address it?
Studying the Jewish experience isn't just for Jewish people, that it's a way into the human experience. And what part of what I take from this show is that it invites people to empathize, to understand, to connect in ways that perhaps other forms of scholarship don't.
You hear a lot nowadays in the United States about folks trying to avoid parts of our history, of our own history, of world history, because it's unpleasant. I don't fear history. None of us should. We should look squarely at our history and learn from it.
It is a universal need to remember our past, to inform our future.
We're going to watch and listen to something very powerful right now. And one of it was two pieces put together, brief, one from a few months ago and one from yesterday. And it happens to be a former colleague of yours, Governor Patrick, and you'll immediately recognize the context and the connection here.
Hello, everybody.
I want to talk to you today about the rising hate and anti-Semitism we've seen all over the world. You know, a few months ago, I toured Auschwitz, the Nazi concentration camp, where 1.1 million men, women, and children lost their lives. Almost all of them were ruthlessly murdered simply because they were Jewish. When you walk through a place like Auschwitz, you feel a tremendous weight. There are reminders everywhere of the horrors that happened there. The suitcases never claimed by the prisoners, who were told to remember exactly where they left their belongings so they could retrieve them after they were finished with their showers. The shoes and the gold teeth and the hair that were taken from the murdered to be reused by the murderers to fund their evil. The logbooks with thousands of names crossed out as if a cruel accountant only measured death. The gas chambers with scratches on the walls from the fingernails of people who tried to hold on to life. The crematorium, where the Nazis tried to erase all of their atrocities. Let me tell you something. The weight on your back hits you at the very beginning heavier than any squat I've ever done. And it never goes away.
At this forum, and you said,
and I was born with a father that was a Nazi. Think about that.
The air went out of the room. I've heard you talk about your father, but not like that. What made you say it that way?
Well, first of all, you have to understand, when I improvise a speech, I don't think about how I say something or what I say.
You used the story of your father to try to reach people who are getting sucked into groups that propagate hate. Mm-hmm. Talk about making that connection.
My father was, and so many other millions of men, was sucked into a hate system through lies and deceits. And so we have seen where that leads. As I've seen it firsthand, how broken those men were, the kind of atrocities that happened, how many millions of people had to die, and then they ended up losers. You know, the Confederacy, losers. They say, all of this just doesn't work. I mean, let's just go and get along. And love is more powerful than hate.
And it's so hard to get one's arms and head around these numbers, the statistics. And again, that's where art having an emotional impact. We're going to look at one more painting. There's something very special, very personally meaningful about this painting and the composition, Governor. Besides it being a group composition, which most of them are individual girls and their lives reimagined, there's also a man in this painting, and this man happens to be my grandfather. And the woman next to him would be my great-grandmother. The woman next to her would have been my grandmother, and the young girl, my aunt. And what's also very special, and the only case of any of these portraits, is that one of the individuals that is portrayed here actually survived. And that's the woman in the front, and that's my mother.
Everything which I had during my childhood is divided into two periods. Anti-Semitism, as I knew it on my own skin, is very, very much part of that. Without anti-Semitism, some horrible things were happening through history, but in that kind of an organized, brutal, unbelievably vicious manner, as I personally saw, heard, and witnessed, never happened before. Anti-Semitism is the result of that. It's impossible to sit in this very comfortable, beautiful, well-appointed, warm, clean apartment and to think that overnight, like that, things can turn to such viciousness. It scares me to think about it, because then I pose the question to myself, what is it that we can do? Never to stop talking about it.
Never to stop talking about it. In this conversation, all of us contributing what we're trying to do in our individual lives collectively is part of what Mom's charge to all of us is.
We should look squarely at our history and learn from it. And we should be called in that way and through art in all of its forms to remember our humanity in that history. As that, I think, at the end of the day, will save us. So thank you for this project.
Thank you, everyone, on behalf of Lives Eliminated, Dreams Illuminated, the LEDI Experience coming to Brandeis University. Governor, thank you, sir, for your time and your friendship. And we'll continue this conversation, and we'll continue to make this world, we'll try at least to make this world a better place for all.